Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the teaser trailer that came out for The Marvels. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But I really love being able to see what we got. Obviously enough to kind of give you a flavor and feel of the movie. I think word had already come out that the movie was going to be like a comedy movie. I think it's just going to be kind of almost like a buddy comedy movie in a certain regards of our trio of them hanging out. And obviously getting a real, even better understanding of the ending of Captain Marvel. We know that Carol and Kamala switch places. That was, the stinger at the end of Miss Marvel, but it seems like it runs even deeper. It's not just two people, all three of them switch places. Monica ended up where Carol was, Carol ended up where Kamala was, Kamala ended up where Monica. So I was wondering if there's a pattern to how they switch, or is it just kind of random, and I wonder, is there any way to can you reverse the pattern so that rather than it going clockwise, it ends up going counterclockwise? So I'm curious if that's something that ends up diving into and I think it's so dope. We see in one of the fight sequences later, they are utilizing that every time they're using their powers, we see Monica and Kamala switch places during the fight. And then that's going to be so trippy and so dope. That's got to be the final action sequence of the movie. But I'm that's going to be so neat. I mean, there's so much fun you can have with that in so many regards, but that's so interesting. But I love that opening with Monica. And it's so interesting because isn't it called it's called Saber, isn't it, instead of Sword? So I mean, I guess Sword, everything that happened was Sword in WandaVision. So I guess Fury was yeah, that was their thing, I'm doing my own thing, got to distance myself from everything that went down with Sword in WandaVision. So but obviously Kamala so excited. I'm oh my god, I'm out here in space. Wait, is this an Avengers thing? Oh my god, you're Nick Fury, fangirling it up. So I think that's so dope. Obviously, there's been theories about what that switch at the end of Miss Marvel could have represented, because some people are wondering, obviously we know Carol was there at in the post credits for Shang-Chi, where it's one of the post credits for Shang-Chi, where it's Shang-Chi, Wong, Bruce, and Carol, and they're talking about the 10 rings being connected to something out there in space. And so obviously there's been theories about whether or not the negabands that Kamala has are somehow connected. Well, we know this is connected to the Noor and another universe, so I wonder what that all means. I mean, obviously we're dealing on a very cosmic level, so I'm sure not just space, but it does probably deal with the whole interdimensional elements of it all. So that's definitely going to be interesting, especially with some of the spots we see in the movie. Like I said, them switching places where Carol, we see, I guess it was an event that Kamala was at, and then Carol kind of pops up there being oh, this is, oh, where am I? What, that's just going to be so much fun when they're separated and they're going to find themselves, in a situation. I even love, at one point when Kamala switched with Carol, she's beside Goose and she saw Goose, eat two people, and she lost her mind. It's yeah, it's traumatizing, it's oh, these poor kids who end up in these terrible situations versus Peter, getting a little too high off the ground. I mean, Germany was one thing in Civil War, but it's another to end up in space because of Infinity War. And now now you have Kamala doing that. She didn't really sign up for this side of things and just kind of getting jumped into the deep end, which is actually kind of an interesting parallel, because that was a thing people said about Spider-Man, how he kind of he wasn't the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man before it popped off. I mean, he was in Homecoming, but he didn't spend enough time before he ended up going cosmic with Infinity War. And it's yeah, Kamala's next outing as a superhero after her small scale adventure, which still had its own dimensional implications, not even implications, just straight up dimensional elements. Now she's out here in space again. I mean, now she's out here in space on this space adventure, and I think that's going to be this interesting trio buddy cop thing kind of going on in that regard. Some big questions I have, and I'm so curious to see the movie tackle them. We know there's something between Monica and Carol, because it goes back to WandaVision when they were all talking about, oh yeah, Wanda went toe-to-toe with Thanos, she could have won if, but then it's yeah, and so could Captain Marvel, and because Jimmy and Darcy said that, but then in that moment, Monica kind of looks at the screen and she kind of has a look they didn't see, because her back was turned to them, but we as the audience saw, and we never got a conclusion like, what was that about? And I think the Marvels is going to end up tackling that. My theory, and I think I've heard other people theorize it too, was it must have something to do with Maria. It's like, right, this Maria was like your best friend. She was like a sister to you, but because we know Monica got blipped in that 5 years, and when she was like, what was it, like 2 years into her being gone, her mom sadly died while she was gone. And so it might be a thing of she found out that Carol never, because we know Carol was there, like Carol never got blipped, so maybe she did see Maria in that time, or maybe it's like in that 20 plus years of between Captain Marvel and her returning to Earth in Endgame, that maybe it's like a, you never came back. And maybe, so Monica's beef with Carol might have already pre-existed, and maybe we even get that in a bit of an opening, that they already had issues. You know, at least the last time she was on Earth was for Tony's funeral, and we know, I'm curious, is that when did her and Fury interact at any point in time in that frame? Because we know, because she has that moment when she ends up landing back at Kamala's house, she's like, a kid? Like, what's going on? And she turns to, she goes, oh, hi. There was almost like this, like, oh, hi. Like, I don't know if that was just to her family, to Kamala's family, or whether that was specifically being around Fury. I think it's specifically about Monica in that situation. So that's me reading that situation. I could be 100% wrong in that, but I think that might be where we get some early moments of some tension between them. So, but once again, they haven't talked in since she probably came back after the blip. So, well, once again, she was on Earth at that time, so who knows? So, I mean, she might have ended up flying off immediately. Once again, maybe the opening of the movie will kind of probably cover something like that, but I'm so curious. I am curious, like, obviously this movie's coming out after Secret Invasion, but it doesn't look like Fury's got the gray and stuff in him like he does in Secret Invasion, so part of me wonders, does Secret Invasion happen afterwards despite it coming out first? So does the events of the Marvels lead into Secret Invasion, or does Secret Invasion directly lead into the Marvels? Because maybe like that is like, hey, he gets a little clean cut during the events of Secret Invasion and that leads into the Marvels. I don't know. But like I said, just kind of some more intergalactic like shenanigans and once again kind of an adventure. Obviously Monica's, I mean, it's been some time, so Monica is a lot more well versed in the powers, has a better understanding of them. I'm also curious how we're going to get like an origin story for Goose, because there's at one point, there's a shot in the trailer where we see a whole bunch of cats walking, so I'm wondering like, are they other gooses as well? Like, are they like Goose's species? Will it just be like just kind of a funny bit of like, oh yeah, there's other gooses and that's kind of all you'll get. But it just seems really interesting. This will probably be the only trailer I watch, like Wakanda Forever. The only trailer I watched was the teaser trailer. This was enough to get me super hyped. I'm so excited to kind of deep dive into this movie, you know, and just find out, like, get all these answers. But it feels like it's just going to be a fun time. So I'm so excited to see our trio interact and kind of bounce off of each other. It's like, oh, we're a team. No, we're not a team. No, we're not a team. And just Kamala being the only one, her kind of almost being like the kid's sister while the big sisters are like arguing, you know, so I think that's just going to be an interesting dynamic, and where they are at the beginning versus who they're going to be and where they're going to be at the end of the movie is going to be so interesting. Once again, finding out what's binding their powers together, what's connecting. Is it going to have something to do with Kang? Yes, no. Is it going to have something to do with the 10 ring situation or whatever it is that the 10 rings, whatever they were kind of locking onto at the end of Shang-Chi? Once again, we'll ultimately have to wait and see. Obviously, these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What do you expect from the movie? What do you want from the movie? Just let me know your thoughts. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.